What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 24 of Contemplations with Austin. I'm pretty sure I'm on day 24. Good to be back. I feel, man, I wonder what the world would be like if we honor the truth of what we're feeling more often. Because yesterday I was in a process. I don't even want to say that. I'm so, is anybody else tired of the language of the man portals and processes and blah blah blah? We're just where we are. We're just where we are today. I feel way better. I feel way more energized. I've been in a deep workflow. I'm onboarding this new AI system called ACE, which is like a template that is put on top of the AI systems that makes things local, and it has infinite memory, so it can pull from all the things, because certain AI can only pull from certain categories. Anyways, I have half a dozen friends using this, and it's like the biggest upgrade they've ever had in their life. Literally, it's like a Jarvis. So, yeah, spent 3-4 hours prepping for that call and an hour onboarding, and had a couple productive calls. Had a good day. Feeling energized again. And good to be here. Good to be back on another episode. Today, I want to talk about, who submitted this? Francis. Shout out, Francis. She asked about human design, gene keys, and I'm not going to limit it to that. I want to talk about these systems. Yeah, I don't know what we call those. Systems? Yeah, I guess. Human design, gene keys, astrology, books, teachers, AI, all of it. All of it. Because I think it's a bigger, all-encompassing, all-encompassing thing here. I like to really root in everything in my life from the perspective of something Bashar says, that nothing is the thing. Everything is a permission slip to understanding ourselves better through the thing. Let me give you an example. I'm sure we've all had somebody, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure this might be true for you. We've all had somebody in our life that blames their astrology chart for the way they act and behave. If that's you, feel into that. Own that truth. Because it is a, let me try to use a real example for myself. Okay, so I am heavy Capricorn in my chart. My Sun, my Saturn, my Neptune, and my Uranus are in Capricorn. So I got a wild amount of Capricorn in my chart. So that energetic, those patterns within Capricorn can be very loud or noticeable in my life. And it's not about identifying so deeply with what those are. It's about using the information that those are presenting me to understand myself at a deeper level, so I can recognize when those parts of me are alive and have conscious choice in all of it. So again, sometimes somebody can use their astrology chart to be a victim of their circumstance or where they are. You know, part of, I'm a Taurus ascendant as well, which means it is hard for me to change my mind. I'm resistant to change. I kind of ground in bull energy, right? Like, my idea is better, and I know how that shadow comes up in my life, and I can use that as the declaration of this is who I am, and being victim to circumstances presented to me because I've completely absorbed that idea of who I am. Or I can look at myself in the mirror of that and be like, interesting. I know that my tendency, because this is the way that my chart is set up, is that this might be how I act or behave in a certain situation. And so when I'm being presented something in said situation, maybe there's something deeper here for me to look at. And I can make a decision outside of the quote norm of what might feel easier for me, but isn't in my highest and best. So this is the problem when we identify too deeply with these systems. We literally become victim to those as well. And if you're here, then you know that my entire all of my teachings and everything I'm trying to do is make you sovereign by being victim to nothing and no one outside of you, taking full and complete and total responsibility and ownership for every single thing that's happening in your life. That is sovereignty. That is empowerment. That is how we become so free of anything external that we start to trust the self at such a deep level that we get to find God within through that trust. And we start to live by the whispers and the pings. So with that being said, all of these systems are really beautiful ways to understand yourself. So the way I relate to astrology is I'm not saying any of this is right or wrong. If you're an astrologer, I bet you'll probably, Allie, you might disagree with my perspective of how I use these. I understand that there's different ways to integrate these in your life. I understand that astrology alone could be a powerful thing if you go all in. I understand the human design. I understand the jinkies. All of it. This is how I use it. How it makes sense in my life. Astrology, I tap into the collective field. I look at what is happening collectively right now. And I know I'm lacking a lot of my own personal identifications within there, things that can help me, and nodes and alignments and blah, 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 blah. And that's not to say I haven't understood myself a lot better. Like one of my things is my sun is conjunct Saturn is conjunct Neptune, which I kind of consider Neptune and Saturn polarity planets and kind of what they represent. Conjunct my sun, my life force, what I'm here to do, Capricorn. So I need legacy. I need to build something of value in the world. And then I have they're conjunct my sun. And so they're like opposing forces. And so it's like Entheos is the representation of that, the grounded material reality into the disillusion, the spiritual, the dream state, actualizing something that the world isn't fully knowing of yet. So understanding that path in my chart has helped me be a better creator inside of it, more accepting of the mission. But in general, I like to tap into astrology for what is happening in the collective field. What are we moving through collectively right now? As kind of my guide point of understanding, like, oh, okay, so this makes sense. Like a lot of the stuff I'm moving through right now, it's not just me. I know it's not. I talked about this a little bit in the last podcast, July 4th, July 11th, 19th to the 23rd, Barbeau's Basket. Like this month is all about the entry point to the evolution of humanity. Like, I think shit's going to get wild the second half of this year, y'all. I think a lot of people that have been living in the darkness are going to start to be outed for who they are. Gurus, politicians, corporations. Yeah, I think a lot of that's going to start coming to light. I think the financial system is going to get a little wonky. I think the old world representations are going to start to fall away. And the stars show that as well. And then the gene keys, human design. Human design is like the who am I in this life? It's the very masculine approach to understanding myself. And then the gene keys, excuse me. The gene keys are the more feminine. It's like if human design is this is my path to walk in this life. So I'm a 1-3 manifesting generator. So understanding who I am as a manifesting generator understands how I'm meant to create, where my shadows might lie, where my gifts might lie. A 1 and a 3, I'm an investigator martyr. So understanding my 1, I give myself permission to become obsessive about certain topics. It's in my design. This is why I teach the way I do. I go deep into a teaching, and then I try it in my life. The martyr, I learn through failure. And then I take that to other people. So all the frameworks I teach, I try out in my life for 3, 6, 9, 12 months before I ever bring it to other people. And I feel, is there a resonance of truth to this? And when there is, then I'm able to bring that to other people. And so it's literally understanding my design in this life. I thrive in following what excites me and going all in, investigating, needing to know everything about it. But the shadow of the 1 is thinking I need to know more than I need to know before I can start bringing it to other people. And so it's finding that line that really helped me learn about myself. The 3, the martyr, I learned through failure. And so the shadow of that is if I'm afraid of failure. And this is why I make a decision and I pivot so often. It's like, I only learn through the failure of the attempts that I make. I'm obviously going through that right now. I've talked about that extensively. And then also where my decision-making comes from. I'm a solar plexus authority. And so I get an initial ping, and then I'm supposed to sit on that for 1, 2, 3 nights and get clarity. The initial ping always feels intuitive, but sometimes the lesson is in being patient before making big decisions in my life. I'm actively trying to do that. And then there's the gates, a lot of things to understand there. Understanding my purpose, my life's gate 53, it's the gate of shock. And so the more authentic and raw and direct I am, the more truthful I am, the more other people will have their own awakening experience, which pairs with the siddhi of my gene keys. So gene keys and human design, they do plug into each other in many ways. But in my opinion, human design is a very masculine approach in understanding who I am, the container and structure of who I am. And then there's the gene keys, which is the very feminine. It's like the path I am here to walk. I'm going to try to do a screen share. I don't know if this is going to work and come up on a recording, but let's try. Okay. I don't know if y'all can see this, but we're going with it. I'm going to assume that you can. So this is my gene keys profile. And as you see, just give an example. So you have the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi and all these bubbles. And then you have the call them spheres, and this applies to the area of your life. So you got life's work, you got evolution. This is called the path of challenge, the path of breakthrough. These green lights connect, radiance, purpose. Radiance is like my physical embodiment, my health, purpose. Pretty simple. We're just going to focus on life's work. So I've talked about this a lot. My shadow of my life's work is greed. This is why I have been in this place of needing to give everything away to integrate the shadow. But then the shadow of that is doing it to a point where there's material, where I'm giving it away to the point of, here, I'll read the line. Eventually, you need to aspire to something more spiritual in life, but never to the detriment of material prosperity. And I've been doing it all to the detriment of material prosperity. So it's literally in my gene keys, what I'm here to do. Trust in my visions, empower my dreams. It's all about believing in myself. Finding the right allies. Since Joey and Tyler and Zen and people came into my life, it's really opened up. So gene keys to me is like the path I'm meant to walk. And the way I work with this, again, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's really helped out my life, is gene keys are all about frequency. It's about understanding the frequency that we're attracting everything in our life from. From that perspective, anytime something is I'm in a difficult situation and challenge, if I feel like I'm attracting a lesson in my life, then I lean into, I must be attracting that from the frequency I embody. That frequency is held in my DNA. Where is this on my map? There's 64 gene keys. 11 of these gene keys determine my life's path. And so here's a good example. EQ, emotional quotient, which is your emotional intelligence, emotional attunement, all things about your emotional states. If I'm ever not in a place that I desire to be in emotionally, immediately I look for where am I holding expectation in my life? And I try to work towards finding what that is and then anchoring into detachment inside of that. And so I don't want to go too deep into trying to teach this right now. This is how I work with the gene keys. It is the map. I don't know how to. Oh, that's kind of cool. I just figured out a new thing. Okay. It's kind of the map. I wonder if I can record this way and you guys can see both screens. I don't know what you're seeing on your side. I'm trying something new live. Maybe this wasn't the best thing. But you guys are with me. This is the map I'm supposed to walk. So that's just another example of what I mean. So you have astrology, you have gene keys, you have human design. There's books. I think I've read somewhere around 400 books in my life. I gave away a couple hundred. I kept a couple hundred. And I don't think I've read a book in a year and a half. It's been a long time. I've bought multiple. I get 10 pages in and I'm just like, it just doesn't resonate anymore. And I trust what I'm being told as far as following the excitement. And I used to be obsessive about books and now they just don't register. There's so much value I've learned from those books I read in meeting myself in a new way. I literally learned about who I am, my philosophy, my life view. I got to figure out what made sense, what didn't make sense. So many books have changed my life. I'm going to do a podcast soon on the most powerful ones. All of these systems, teachers, shout out Eric Godzi, shout out Hermeticism, shout out the Law of One. All of these are just reflections to help you understand who you already are at the core. So it's not about getting lost in any of these. It's not about allowing any of them to fully dictate who you are and what you're meant to be in this life. They're all permission slips on understanding the self better. But none of them are going to be the thing. Because at the end of the day, everything comes down to how deeply do you trust yourself? How deeply can you trust the whispers and the pings that are coming from your mind, body, and soul that are guiding you to always where you're meant to go? The answer is never, ever, ever going to be found outside of yourself. But these maps that we call in, these maps that beautiful, incredible, intelligent, prophetic people have channeled through to present these teachings and wisdom opportunities, are beautiful ways of understanding ourselves in it to come back to the self, to learn to trust the self in a better way. And this is true about religion and everything. No one outside of you is ever going to have the answer, y'all. No one. No one. There is no outside deity. The all is everything. If there's any tradition that anthropomorphizes some deified version of what God is, I think that's so limiting to what God really is. And I don't believe that there should be a man or a woman that is the intermediary between me and my sovereignty. That is somebody wanting to have power over me by telling me that they know better than me than I do. So all of these, everything is just a permission slip for you to learn how to trust yourself deeper. And sometimes we got to go through these modalities and give our power away to realize that we're giving our power away, to come back and take the power back and become more of ourselves. That sounded crunchy. Brains at like 68%. Yeah, I think they're beautiful. They're so fun to play in. Just don't make it the thing. Don't make it the ultimate idea of who you are. It's a gift in helping you recognize. Let me give you another example, because it's completely reframed the way I look at my relationships. My descendant is in Scorpio, which is a little wild. And then my descendant is conjunct Pluto, which is like the shadow realms. So having my descendant already in Scorpio and then it conjunct Pluto, my relationships are going to be intense, y'all. I think it's romantic and otherwise, and friendly. It's like my relationships are going to catalyze growth. I'm going to catalyze people's growth in it, and they're going to catalyze it for me as well. That's how it's going to show up. So knowing that going into the relationship, any friendship, when stuff starts coming up, I'm like, oh, this is kind of the purpose. Like in relationship with me, because it's my design, whoever I'm in relationship with, we're going to catalyze big shit together. And if we know that, we're not going to be victim to the stories and the things that come up inside of that. And so it helps me just shine a spotlight on how my life might show up and navigate a little bit easier inside of that. But I'm not going to use that as the excuse to get lost inside of those relationships. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be victim to that part of me. I'm going to have conscious choice because I know that part of me a little bit deeper. That's how I use these things. I hope that helps, Francis. I hope that lands. Yeah, everything's fun. Everything's just an opportunity to go deeper. Because the deeper, I'll just say this for me, the deeper I go into myself, the deeper and more profoundly I feel and touch and recognize God. That's the juice. That's what I'm here to do. I'm trying to find God in all of it. God is all of it. It is the all. It is the unknowable. This desk, this lighter, this sage, this Palo Santo, this pen, this notebook, all of it is God. And when I can find the magical in the mundane, when I can look at this poop bag and even look at this with a little bit of reverence, like, wow, look at everything. Everything is a creation from some mind that is connected to the divine everything. And I want to live in a place where I am reverent to all of it, all of life, known and unknown, alive and not unalive, but like, this water bottle, like reverence for all of it, appreciation for all of it, respect for all of it. because that makes the life a little bit more juicy. That feels complete. Kind of rambled today. Appreciate y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, do your thing. Help me spread the message. See you guys tomorrow.